Every day we hear the same hurtful stories about autism, and they keep people in the dark. They don't talk. They don't feel. They're all geniuses or all lost. Those headlines and memes sound simple, but they erase real lives. In the next few minutes, we're going to pull those myths apart, one by one, and show why they matter for every person who meets an autistic individual at school, at work, or in a friendship. Why do these myths matter so easily? Because the way we picture autism shapes the policies that fund schools, the accommodations that workplaces offer, and the everyday reactions we have when someone covers their ears in a crowded room. When a teacher assumes a child can't speak, they might never try a picture board that could open a whole world of expression. When an employer thinks an autistic person can't handle stress, they might never give a chance to prove otherwise. The myths become barriers, and the barriers become real disadvantages. We're not trying to speak for every autistic person. Autism is a spectrum, a wide range of neurological differences, and each person's experience is unique. What we can do is share what research tells us and amplify the voices of those who live it every day. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer picture of how communication, emotions, intelligence, relationships, and daily life really work for autistic people, and you'll have a simple way to call out a myth when you hear it. Let's start with the first myth that pops up in almost every conversation: the idea that autistic people don't talk or can't communicate at all. The truth is far more nuanced. Speech is just one mode of communication, and many autistic individuals use a rich mix of tools to share their thoughts. Some rely on augmentative and alternative communication devices like speech-generating tablets, sign language, or even art and music. Others are highly verbal, speaking with a vocabulary that can surprise anyone who expects silence. Both approaches are valid, and both deserve respect. Studies from recent years show that when schools introduce picture exchange systems or text-based apps, children who once seemed withdrawn suddenly start participating in class discussions. It's not that they lacked the desire to communicate, they just needed a different channel. The second part of that myth is the belief that if an autistic person isn't speaking, they must not have thoughts or feelings to share. That's simply false. Many autistic people experience emotions just as intensely as anyone else, but they might express them differently. Some find it hard to label what they feel, a condition called alexithymia that isn't exclusive to autism, and that can make it look like they're detached. Yet neuroimaging research shows that the brain regions that process joy, fear, and love light up in autistic individuals just as they do in neurotypical brains. A personal story I heard from an autistic adult illustrates this. She described the overwhelming rush of sensory input at a busy market as a wave of anxiety that felt like a physical pressure on her chest. She felt it deeply, even if the outward signs were subtle. Now that we've cleared up the communication myths, think about how often you've heard someone say, "They don't feel anything." If this is blowing your mind, hit that subscribe button, and let's keep exploring together. Next, we'll move on to the myths about emotions and intelligence, and why the savant stereotype is more fiction than fact. Stay tuned. Now let's dive into the myth that autistic people are emotionless. This idea often stems from the way some autistic individuals mask their feelings or express them in ways that differ from neurotypical norms. The truth is that emotions are a universal human experience, but the pathways for recognizing, labeling, and outwardly displaying those feelings can vary widely. Research using functional brain imaging has shown that the same regions that light up when a neurotypical person feels joy, sadness, or fear also activate in autistic brains. What changes is the bridge between internal sensation and external expression. Take the example of a teenager who becomes visibly upset during a loud fire alarm. To an observer, the reaction might look like a sudden outburst, but for the teen, it is a cascade of sensory overload that triggers a deep sense of panic. The anxiety is not imagined. It is a real physiological response that can feel as intense as a heart attack. Because the teen may not use the typical facial cues that most people rely on, the surrounding adults might mistakenly assume indifference. This misinterpretation can lead to missed opportunities for support, and over time, reinforce the harmful belief that autistic people don't feel. Another layer to this myth is the concept of alexithymia, which is the difficulty in identifying and describing one's own emotions. While it appears more frequently in autistic populations, it is not exclusive to them. Even among those who do not experience alexithymia, the internal emotional landscape can be rich and complex. Autistic artists, writers, and musicians often channel their feelings into creative works, offering a window into their inner world that might otherwise remain hidden. When we listen to those creations, we hear the same spectrum of love, grief, excitement, and longing that any human can feel. Moving on, let's tackle the twin myths surrounding intelligence: the savant stereotype and the assumption that autism equals low IQ. The savant narrative, think of the prodigious memory for dates, the ability to calculate massive numbers in a heartbeat, or the uncanny talent for music, has been popularized by movies and media. While these extraordinary abilities are real for a small fraction of autistic individuals, they represent an outlier, not the norm. Studies estimate that only about 1% of autistic people display savant skills. To focus on that tiny slice is to ignore the vast majority who have diverse strengths and challenges. Intelligence, on the other hand, is not a single line on a test. Autistic individuals span the entire range of cognitive abilities, from profound intellectual disability to giftedness. Some excel in pattern recognition, logical reasoning, or visual spatial tasks, while others shine in storytelling, empathy, or practical problem-solving. The key is recognizing that traditional IQ tests often fail to capture the unique ways autistic minds process information. For instance, a person who can assemble a complex Lego structure in minutes may struggle with a timed verbal reasoning exam, yet both tasks reflect different facets of intelligence. Consider the story of an autistic software developer who prefers to communicate through code rather than small talk. Their ability to spot bugs that others overlook saves their company millions, yet a conventional interview might undervalue their contribution because of limited eye contact. Conversely, an autistic artist may not excel in abstract mathematics, but creates paintings that move viewers to tears. Both are intelligent in their own right, and both deserve acknowledgement. Now let's address the belief that autistic people cannot form meaningful relationships or live independently. This myth often arises from a misunderstanding of social interaction styles. Autistic individuals may approach friendships and romance differently, but that does not mean they are incapable of love or companionship. Many autistic adults report deep, lasting friendships that are built on shared interests, honesty, and mutual respect. Romantic partnerships thrive when partners learn each other's communication preferences, sensory thresholds, and emotional cues. Data on marriage and parenting among autistic adults show a growing trend of individuals choosing to marry, adopt, and raise children. While the pathways may involve more explicit discussions about boundaries and accommodations, the outcomes are no less fulfilling. One couple I spoke with described how they created a visual schedule for date nights, ensuring that each partner knew what to expect and could enjoy the experience without sensory overwhelm. Their story illustrates that with understanding and flexibility, relationships can flourish. Independence is another spectrum. Some autistic people require support for daily tasks such as cooking, budgeting, or navigating public transportation, while others live completely self-sufficient lives. The presence of support does not diminish autonomy. Rather, it empowers individuals to make choices that align with their preferences. Reasonable accommodations, like quiet workspaces, flexible schedules, or assistive technology, can bridge the gap between desire and ability. When society provides these tools, autistic individuals can contribute their talents in the workplace, pursue higher education, and engage in community life. All of these myths share a common thread. They reduce a richly varied group of people to a single, oversimplified narrative. The most damaging misconception is the idea that there is a universal autistic experience. In reality, autism is a spectrum of neurological differences, each person carrying their own strengths, challenges, and stories. When we stop assuming a one-size-fits-all model, we open space for genuine inclusion, respect, and empowerment. Think about the diverse voices you've heard today. The teenager navigating a fire alarm, the artist channeling emotion onto canvas, the developer spotting hidden bugs, the couple planning a quiet evening together. Each story is a reminder that autism is not a monolith, but a mosaic of human experience. By challenging these myths, we not only correct misinformation, but also create a world where autistic people are seen, heard, and valued for who they truly are. If this conversation resonated with you, please take a moment to like the video and share it with anyone who might benefit from a clearer picture.